So welcome to Internship Search Strategies workshop for this fall 2021 semester. We're excited to have everyone on the line today. And on behalf of University Career Services, we're going to use this as an opportunity to really uncover the details of the value of an internship, some logistics of how to search for internships and other opportunities. I am Stephanie McIntyre, the Associate Director of Career Education in your centralized University Career Services office on campus. I'll go through a few other details later on about how you can schedule an appointment and search for opportunities through our Handshake system. But for the sake of time, I want to move forward and also introduce two individuals who are also going to be essential in delivering you some wonderful information this morning. I have on the line also Chelsea Cochran. She works within University Career Services as well. She is a graduate career counseling intern who works with us, and many of you have or will be scheduled for appointments with her this semester for resume reviews and cover letter writing or basic career coaching. I also have Amanda Wooliver. She is coming from us from TTI today. She is a divisional sales manager there, and she's going to also be able to provide some perspective as a company representative on gaining experience and expertise through company internships and other ways to get your foot in the door at opportunities. What I'll do before we actually jump into some of the career services content is have Amanda introduce herself and maybe just say a bit about her organization, and then later on you'll hear a bit more from her. Amanda?
Awesome. Thank you so much. As she said, my name is Amanda Wolvert. I'm the divisional sales manager for one of our brands over here at TTI. So in case you haven't heard of TTI before, that is okay. We like to joke that we're one of the largest companies you've never heard of. We finished the year at about $10 billion of sales last year. And while you may not recognize TTI, you probably recognize some of our brands. So some of our brands include Milwaukee Power Tools, Ryobi Power Tools, Hurt Tools, which is a new brand exclusive to Walmart. We also have Rigid Tools. We own Hoover and Dirt Devil, and a bunch of just legacy brands that all make up kind of our scope or our umbrella. With that being said, we primarily hire people into a leadership development program. Everyone starts in kind of that sales role. That way they're getting their hands-on experience learning about the products, because I don't know about you guys, but I knew nothing about power tools before starting to work for TTI, as well as our customers, so those day-to-day users, also our clients. So whether it's the Home Depot or Walmart or other big partnerships that we work with, we're learning about all the different needs of all of them, which then will lead you into a career with management, marketing, sales. You can go into HR, you can go into supply chain. The opportunities are endless. We're growing at tech company rates, yet we've been around for such a long time that we have that stability of a large company backing. So that's a little bit about us. We are looking for students in all different types of majors. We also offer an incredible 10-week internship that I'm happy to discuss with any of you all, but that's a little bit about me. I have gone through that first sales role just like everyone else, then went into some management roles, have gone through a year of recruiting, and then now I'm a divisional sales manager. So I can give you the perspective of a hiring manager as well as being a recruiter and what we're really looking for through your experiences and how to work that into your resume as well. So excited to answer any of your questions as we go through too.
Excellent. Well, that's great information, and we're looking forward to hearing even more about that. What you said up front, Amanda, is so poignant, is that so often there are organizations that we just don't know a lot about. And often for students, that means that they look over something that could be such a gold mine. And it's okay if you don't know anything about TTI or other organizations. That's what we're here for, is to really help you uncover some of those details, to ensure if it's a right fit, and to encourage your independent research, because that's how you will gain further knowledge to ask the right questions. So I appreciate that you mentioning that piece as well, Amanda. I'm going to take a moment just to outline some of the points that we will indeed cover during this workshop this morning. We're going to define what an internship truly is, and broadly what experiential learning encompasses. We'll talk about the value of internships and why you want to pursue one. And we're going to hear from Chelsea Cochran to talk about her own experiences as an intern, skills that she has developed, and some suggestions that she may have for you. We'll give you some tactical advice on where you can go and how you can embark upon your internship search, what the application process may look like. And then that will really set a great foundation for Amanda to tell us more about that, to answer some of our questions as a company representative and a former recruiter. She'll be able to give us some tips of the trade on exactly what you need to do to be an attractive applicant to hiring managers. We'll leave some time for Q&A. So what I would encourage you to do is a few things. As you think of certain things, please, it's okay if you put it in the chat now. I will reserve the last portion of our meeting to addressing those things. But as you think of those things, feel free to put them in the chat. Once we get to that portion of our workshop, I'll start with any text that may be in the chat. And based on your comfort level, for any of you who wouldn't mind taking yourself off of mute, possibly even putting your camera on to ask any additional questions, will really ensure that we can have maybe a good closing conversation. So let's get started. And maybe we can start with a good warm up of anyone who would be comfortable taking themselves off of mute, possibly to share maybe your thoughts about what is an internship. When you hear that term, what really comes to mind? Anyone at all? Maybe someone who has had an internship as well, or not.
Can I talk?
Oh, of course, absolutely. What is an internship?
I feel like it's a paid educational experience that you are getting to know the company and the people and the culture there. And then the company is also trying to see some of if you fit their qualities, just in case later on, like they hired you as a full-time and then they didn't see a fit, it's gonna be a huge problem if they want to kick you out of the company. So they want to make sure like everybody is on the same page.
Hanlon, I couldn't have said it better. I've heard a lot of things, an educational opportunity to get experience, to make connections in a company. I also heard you speak about this concept that employers talk a lot about is internship to full-time job conversion rates. So based on maybe the reputation and the name that you make for yourself through good work that you'll do as an intern, could possibly, once a full-time job is opened up, that employer may say, wow, we know the type of work and the quality experience we got from this internship. We would like to offer them a full-time job. So that is also another added benefit of getting your foot in the door as an intern that could support maybe your full-time job search as well. Thank you so much for that, Hanlon. Anyone else have anything to potentially add to that? If not, I'll take a stab at adding a bit to that. It's a structured opportunity to work in a real workplace setting that can help you gain experience, sometimes just to make a decision whether or not this is the type of company or organization that you want to work for, or maybe carrying out the type of job that maybe you've always aspired to, but now that you've tried it, you can really say, yes, this is absolutely the path that I want to go down. Or it could also give you opportunity to invest in a very safe way before fully committing to that type of career path. You gain both industry and functional knowledge. So you could work in a corporation that maybe represents a certain industry, and then the job function that you would carry out within that organization can then translate to other companies within other industries as well. It's an opportunity for you to develop those relationships, as Hanlon just mentioned, and that comes in the form of formal supervision. And then that person, as well as others, can also become mentors for you as you make other decisions around the future of your career path. You now have individuals who have a frame of reference of that type of work that would be more than happy to give you their perspective. Your interests becomes a foundation moving forward. Your major represents a slight portion of possibly what you want to do in the future. But a lot of times, the things that you're doing outside of the classroom shapes the types of experiences and the way that you look at the world around you. If that is indeed the case, often your career goals are shaped by areas of your interests as well as things that you do well. Having a formal internship can help really solidify that. It can allow you to try on different things for size, to develop opinions on different things that maybe you've never been exposed to. And an internship, based on how a specific company or organization defines it, could be a full-time role. It could be a part-time role. An internship could be something very short-term, or maybe across an expanded area of time. And often, while we talk about summer internships, there are opportunities to engage with employers, have informal or formal opportunities, even throughout the academic year. So as you do research and we help you to do some of that research with you, you can really define and ask those questions of an employer to identify what form of an opportunity or internship experience would work best for you. While we're speaking about the form of experiences or types of experiences, I'd like to take a moment to redefine or expand the definition of internships. And while Amanda will speak to us more about formalized internship programs that absolutely have a place in a space and many students' life or path as a Carolina student, let's talk about some other things. Experiences can come in many different forms, and often students panic when they say that they've never had a formal internship with a company or organization. We can support you in thinking about whether or not that's a fit for you or when you want to have that experience. But please also note that there are many things that you can be putting on your resume and market yourself based on, even if it's not a formalized internship program. Many of you on the line may work on campus. You may be a work-study student. You may have a part-time job in retail or service, even off campus. Some of you have ties to social justice, community engagement, volunteerism in the community. Those are absolutely marketable experiences as well. Student organizations, other clubs and activities on campus are also ways in which you develop skill sets and are able to form opinions of the world around you. Many of you, just by way of your academic major and career interests, a formal internship at an organization or a corporation may not necessarily be fitting for exactly what you need in this moment of time. If you're a STEM major, maybe if you're in human services and you're interested in doing forms of research, that may be something that you want to do in partnership with a faculty member. And that's how you would get in your experiential learning, and it may not necessarily be titled an internship. Other experiences that are just as valuable in you developing certain skill sets that employers will value in you moving forward include study abroad, other types of global experiences. And we know over the past year or so, not many students or not many people as a whole have had the opportunity to travel, but local global experiences are just as invaluable in helping you to develop intercultural competencies. So whether we call this a formal internship or other forms of experiential learning, why are they valuable? Well, depending on how formal the program is, you could possibly earn academic credit for the experience that you're having. It can influence your academic major and or career path choices because now you have more of a frame of reference. Knowing a lot about yourself and having some real world experiences will inform the opinions you have. You'll develop professional competencies. You understand what it means to show up in a specific type of workplace and carry out workplace functions. And regardless of the environment or the setting, you'll be able to develop interpersonal workplace skills that maybe you've never had before. And the more you're able to put on your resume that's relevant and valuable to your audience, which could be the next internship or grad school or a full-time job, having an internship gives you that competitive edge. It's something that's going to make you highly attractive in the eyes of hiring managers. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Chelsea as a current intern to share a bit with you about her current experience.
Thanks, Stephanie. I think all of the things that were mentioned thus far are super important and super critical to my current internship experience. So a little bit about me. I went to UNC for undergrad and then graduated and then started a master's program at NC State. And so my internship is actually a part of my course credit. So I can't graduate without this internship experience. And I think the biggest thing with internships is it allows you to connect things that you're learning in the classroom to the real world. I think sometimes when we're in classes, it's easy to just think of things as a lecture or a seminar or PowerPoint slides, but an internship experience allows you to utilize those skills that you're learning in real time and see how you can use it and how you can align it to yourself and your own beliefs and the work that you're doing. So it's a really tangible way to utilize the information that you're learning in the classroom. So on top of that, another thing that I think internships really allow are the short-term exploration of work life. And so when I was at UNC, I was pre-health, not doing anything similar to what I'm doing now. And so I did not get to explore that environment when I was in college. And so this internship has really been a great opportunity for me to learn, one, what does it look like to work in higher education? What does it look like to work in an office that, I see students 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 hours of the day? Is that something that I am interested in? Is that something that I can see myself doing long term? Or maybe after the internship, do I want to look for a position that allows for different types of interactions on the daily basis? And so I think internships are also a great place to understand yourself and understand what you like and don't like in a job and in a work environment overall. So work environment is one thing, and then also content. You learn about things in the classroom and you think you like it, and then you might get in an internship and not really like it. And I think an internship is always a great place to try that out and see if that's something that you're really interested in before you go invest in a full-time position in that area or field. So utilizing internships as a way to understand yourself and do a lot of self-reflection and assessment throughout the internship so that you're not only seeing what you can provide to that company, but what also that company or just that field in general can provide for you. Is that something that makes you excited to wake up every day for? Things like that. And then Stephanie mentioned something great about mentorship. Stephanie is actually my internship supervisor, and she has definitely become a mentor outside of that internship. So talking about what does my career trajectory look like after I graduate? What does it look like? What are my next steps? Do I want to go back to school? Do I want to go work full time? Do I want to work at a large institution? How am I able to use the things I'm learning in real time? And also just getting that information from someone who is invested in you is something that, in my opinion, is very critical for you to be able to get the most out of that opportunity, and realizing that there are people invested in you and leaning on them to learn about yourself and to ask those questions that you may not have been able to ask before. What are the politics of this organization? What do I need to do to be successful? So kind of creating that supervision and mentorship, I think, is a really, really, really important part of it, because that also can linger beyond the end of that internship. So once you leave on your last day, that relationship that you have made with that supervisor can continue after that. And that's also someone in your professional network that you can then lean on for connections or insight into anything else. And so I think that is pretty much like the biggest things that I really valued in my internship experience. And the last thing I'll say is that it's also okay to not have that formal internship, kind of drilling in on that point. This is, again, my first internship experience that I've had ever. I went through undergrad at UNC with no internships. And I know that definitely felt a little daunting, especially because a lot of my peers were kind of getting these big internships. Oh, I have this internship and that internship. But realizing that all of the other experiences I had in clubs, organizations, jobs, my work study, all of those were still giving me the skills and knowledge to be able to be successful after I graduated from college.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Chelsea. Those are all wonderful words of wisdom and advice based on your own experiences, and that's so helpful. Chelsea has emphasized both the value of this very formalized internship experience, and for many of you will be exactly what you need either now or in the future, as well as not kind of dampening or pushing down the value of those other types of experiences. As a college student, everything that you're doing outside of the classroom is your internship, right? Whether it is that you have or planning on studying abroad, going and visiting another country, if you are part of an organization that volunteers in the community, if you're a work-study student, or if you have maybe that service job in the mall, let's not devalue any of those experiences, but work with career services, other mentors, other advisors to really think about what value those experiences do have, what experiences and skills you are developing, and then putting that on your resume and feeling comfortable speaking about those things in a way so that employers, graduate programs, and other types of programs as a whole or opportunities see that value. I want to take a second to acknowledge that I was having technical difficulties, and you may not necessarily have been seeing as I was advancing through each screen. Please let me know if you are able to see the current screen that was introducing Chelsea, and I'm going to move on to the next one. So if I get some nods to show that we are able to see the getting started. Thank you for that. So with all of this information that we've just learned now within maybe 20, 25 minutes, let's talk about some actual action steps that you can take right now. The getting started sometimes is the hardest part, because once you then have a game plan, you will begin to feel much more comfortable with what you're seeing as you're seeking opportunities, what types of questions to ask of representatives like us in your university career services, as well as employers and company representatives such as Amanda. So what are some of the go-tos that you can use to learn about internships, actually seek out opportunities? Well, Handshake is a #1 go-to that we would encourage all UNC Chapel Hill students to be invested in. As you see on the right side of our screen is a screenshot of our main webpage. When you go to careers.unc.edu, and right here where you see this red arrow is our resources link. When you go to that page, you will be able to find Handshake. If you haven't ever logged into Handshake before, which I'm assuming many of you, since you're on this call today, have, but just be reminded that you do not have to create a new profile on Handshake. You want to use your current one already created by the institution by typing in your onion and password. And so we'll go into some more logistics of that, but I just wanted to remind you of Handshake and its purpose. This platform is not only used just to schedule appointments with us, while that's very important, and it's not only where you go to find the descriptions and the registration details for events, while that is important as well. We have hundreds, if not thousands, of company representatives, many of them partners like Amanda from TTI, who consistently post their job opportunities, internship opportunities in Handshake. They're vetted by us so that we know that they are from reputable organizations that we can stand behind with opportunities that we know will truly serve your needs. So when you go on Handshake, that is one source of searching for opportunities. You would click the Career Center link, and then under jobs, you'll be able to filter for internships and then job, internship, or other types of company types that may really allow you to search for opportunities of your interest. We have upcoming career fairs, such as our Data Science and Analytics Career Fair on September 15th, if that is an area of your interest. As well as then on September 16th, we have our All Majors Fair, which brings out companies, employers of all company types and sizes for internships and job opportunities for students of all backgrounds. LinkedIn is another source for great information. And while it will be until later on in the semester that we have a singularly focused LinkedIn workshop, I want you to start thinking about some LinkedIn best practices, even schedule an appointment with our office to help you think about how you're promoting yourself on LinkedIn and using it to follow not only individuals, but company pages where they often promote different changes within their organization and new internship and job opportunities. Based on your academic program, often your faculty and administrators within your academic department manage UNC listservs, often based on your psychology or your business major or whatever the case may be for you. You'll get messages straight from your unit. They will also include messages about internship, job opportunities, and career planning. So in addition to using Handshake, LinkedIn, and coming to our career fairs, be heavily invested in relationships within your academic department or departments, and to identify if there's any additional listservs that you can be a part of from them that will highlight internship opportunities. If you have a specific interest in a specific organization, make sure you're following them on LinkedIn, as I mentioned before, but also going directly to their company site, where you can look up information such as under the About Them section to find out more about their mission, their vision, their philosophy, what the company stands for. And then clicking on their careers tab will allow you to identify what open opportunities may exist within the organization and if they're promoting any upcoming applications for an internship program. And there's another piece that we call the hidden job market. The hidden job market means that often individuals will find opportunities not through applying through any one site or through any one means. And a lot of that is based on relationships, meaning that being in touch with company representatives, professionals who represent different organizations and industries also have their own relationships and networks. And networking means nothing more than identifying individuals who you have an interest in or familiar or affiliated with things that you want to become familiar with, and engaging in opportunities to communicate with them can do just that. Help you to uncover information that without being in communication with certain individuals, you would not know. And that is what we call the hidden job market. So these are just a few things that you can consider as you are embarking upon your search. I mentioned that I would give you just a screenshot of what you want to think about as you log on to Handshake the next time. When you log on, this will be one of the first pages that you see. And you would want to click under jobs, even if it's an internship or part-time opportunity that you're considering, because then the next screen will allow you then to filter. This is just a cutoff of, more characteristics in which you can filter on, but just to give you an example, under filters with job type, for you as an internship seeking student, you could click here. You can identify if you're looking for only paid internships, and we know unfortunately there's still some unpaid internships. And then what type of role. You can also speak to your major, what type of industry, what type of function you would like a company to represent for you. And then region, where do you want to be over the summer for your internship? Or if you're on campus or in the local area over the academic year and looking for an experience during the academic year, then you would want to narrow that down to a local region so that you can engage in that type of work, unless it's something that's remote. And we know those opportunities continue to grow as well. I alluded to this concept of networking because often we forget this part as we think about the logistics of searching for your next internship or your first internship or other types of experiences, because we focus a lot on the tactical pieces, which are absolutely appropriate, such as your resume, which we hope that you come in to engage with one of us to really sharpen that document. We talk about the logistics of seeking those opportunities to apply for through Handshake or another website or through LinkedIn. But often the starting point to search for opportunities come from conversations. Who do you already know? Who is it that you want to get to know? Even the game plan that you make of who is going to be at our upcoming career fairs can start that possibility of how you will expand your professional network. Again, I want to drive home that point because often when we think of the concept of networking, it can be a little overwhelming. Networking is nothing more than relationship building and then fostering those relationships across time, meaning remaining in conversation with individuals, finding opportunities to update them through email, through phone calls, or other means to let them know what your interests continue to be, where your skills are, how your experiences are growing, so that you can continuously communicate that you would be a value add for whatever opportunities may present themselves. It's also a mutual exchange of information. Often students feel that they don't have anything to offer to the conversation just yet. There's always something unique that you can share about yourself and your journey or your interests, and be interested in the other, ask them questions to identify commonalities you may have with a recruiter, an organization representative, or beyond. Networking is more than just meeting people and see what happens next. We can help you develop a strategy. If you have engaged in our first career fair cram session of the semester or looking to attend the one that we're going to have on September 2nd or another one on September 7th, you can also use that as an opportunity to think about your strategy for researching who is going to be at our upcoming career fairs. When you see those employer names, you can click on those company websites, learn more about who they are, so that when you present yourself virtually at the virtual career fair, you'll be able to let them know what you've already learned about their organization, and then ask them questions that can jumpstart your ability to foster ongoing communication with individuals who have information that you are seeking. And know that the immediate outcome is not always that someone's just going to hand over an internship or a job to you. Sometimes it is the down the road benefit that is more important, the long-term payoff, than simply engaging with someone because you think that they have an immediate offer for you. At your stages, as you continue to explore and consider what's going to be the best fit for you, both functionally or based on industry, being in communication with individuals that have a great frame of reference and can provide you perspective, that is the immediate win. And maybe the long-term payoff could be that internship or job opportunity that you desire. Strategy, purpose, and intention. As you engage with our office and think about all the decisions you want to make around your career plan, that's really what we focus on, is your intentions. Take that same concept as you decide upon an internship. Should you have an internship throughout this academic year or for next summer? So ask yourself, if that is the case, what is it that you want to learn? What type of work do you want to do or try on for the first time? Ask yourself some of the basics. What are you generally excited about? What genuinely interests you? And do they align with the strengths and the skills that you already have? If they do, that's excellent. And if they don't, that's great too. Then let's find some opportunities through internships to develop some skills that maybe you just haven't had the opportunity to strengthen before. I asked this question before: where do you want to live and work geographically, either now for an internship or what you aspire to in the future? Because now will be the time for you to start developing connections within that region as well, through potential internships, whether they're locally or maybe further out or even remotely, that may eventually put you physically where you would like to be. And as I said before, not all internships are over the summer. So we're already into the fall semester, but depending on the company or organization, there may be some spring opportunities that you can prepare for, and definitely things that you can consider for this summer 2022. So I want you to think about what your intentions are, ask the questions, and if you're not quite sure what the answers are, we can indeed create a safe space for you to flush out those details so that by the time you get to company recruiters, you'll have the information in hand. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Amanda Wooliver now, where she can speak a little bit more from the perspective of TTI, but also broadly about what are companies and organizations looking for? What do some of these formal internship programs look like, and how can our students prepare?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stephanie. I think just to kind of echo both what Stephanie has said and what Chelsea has said, I think that there's so many ways to gain great experience, whether it's a formalized internship or not. So I know that as an employer, I get so frustrated when I look at a resume that is fully loaded, right? They've been involved with maybe some internships, but student organizations, sports groups, all sorts of different things. And they don't feel like they have the confidence to speak to their experiences because they didn't have that formalized internship. Every single thing that you do is teaching you some skills, whether it's soft skills or hard skills. Maybe it's just as simple as time management, right? Maybe it's just being able to balance your work, your days as a student, being involved in a student organization and working. If nothing else, that's time management. I'm sure that each of you have had to prioritize one thing over the other. So I think in first starting out, I just really want to echo that there's so many different ways that you can get great experiences as long as you learn how to talk about them. I studied abroad as a college student as well. I loved my time abroad, and I always joke that one of the best skills I learned from it was how to read a map, because I had never had to rely on not having a GPS before until that study abroad program, right? So even just some of the little things that you can pick up throughout your time as a student, and even before you were a student at UNC specifically, maybe speaking to your some of your high school experience, especially as you're interviewing for internships as an undergrad, maybe an underclassman as well. So with that being said, I think that the biggest thing that I want to stress to all of you is just that, number one, internships are great because they get you that real world experience. I always joke, just as often as they teach you what you want to do, they're probably going to teach you what you don't want to do as well. So that's super critical as you're maybe a second year student or maybe going into your third year. You can still have some opportunities to flex in your major or maybe even your minor, picking up different minors to ensure that you're going to have a long career path with potentially what you're going to study. If it's never too late to change your major, or if it is, there's other ways that you can look to do maybe something else that you want to do if the internship was not perfect for you, or maybe just not what you see yourself doing. I think a big thing that I just really want to echo is, as you're searching for those internships, keep in mind the experiences you're going to gain, the hard and the soft skills that you're going to get from them, versus just being closed off to one specific title or one specific company, or maybe just a couple of companies, but you really want them to be X title for the internship. I think it is an important thing to ask when you're looking at these job descriptions for the internships, as well as talking to the employers. Great questions are, what soft skills am I going to be able to gain from this? What hard skills am I going to be able to gain from this? What would a successful internship with this company look like? How would I be able to make an impact on your business? All of those things are really great questions. I would also encourage you to ask, just because networking is such an important thing, ask how they are able to allow networking experiences for interns. I know at TTI, everyone has a mentor. They also have a corporate mentor for their internship. And then typically they have one or two other mentors that they pick up along the way. So I think allowing that time to network, maybe see panels of different people in different roles just to show the full scope of the company is super critical when you're thinking about where you want to go. Sometimes I think that we get too wrapped up in just the name of the company or whatever else it might be, or maybe, you know, your parents are pushing you to do something, but just keep in mind that there's so many opportunities that are going to get you great experiences. I also like to echo that. I think that more and more companies are moving towards paid internships, which is incredible. But I also recognize that if you're choosing between a paid internship and a non-paid internship and a full-time job, it's a privilege to be able to do a free internship. So keep in mind that as long as you're looking for opportunities to go above and beyond and seek out, you know, problem solving and things like that in your different experiences, you're going to be able to give yourself the ammunition to do phenomenal in an interview. Maybe it's that you picked up a project because you were working at a restaurant and you noticed that there was one item that never sold and it always took up so much room in the refrigerator, in the back of the house, whatever it might be. So you decide to implement a sales contest within the other employees that you're working with. Things like that are going to be very transferable to what you're going to be doing when you start to interview for those full-time jobs. So take initiative no matter what you're in, whether it's your internship, your student organization, your job that you work either in the summer or during school. And I really think that that's going to make a huge difference on how you're going to be prepared for full-time positions in the future. Everything we do is transferable. So going in with that mindset is going to set you above your peers as far as going for those internships. Another thing I wanted to mention is also thinking about your network as far as other students go. A lot of, you know, alumni from Chapel Hill, or maybe even current students who have been in internships, they work for phenomenal companies. They may have referral bonuses and things like that to get more students just like yourself into their company. Don't forget to utilize your own network within your peers as well, because they're front of hand, they're firsthand in these same experiences and should be able to guide you as well. Don't forget to look at your maybe upperclassmen and some of your student orgs, sports groups, even just in your classes to see what they've done and how you can use that to your advantage as well. So I think that's one thing that we forget to do, is we only think about networking when it comes to maybe with career services or companies or higher up people, but don't forget about your peers. I think they're a great resource for you to use as well. One last thing I wanted to just really take home is just that problem solving mentality. Many internships that you go into may not be the most structured. At TTI, we're very structured. We have a 10-week internship program, and each week you're assigned a different task or project, each one of them having a different goal in mind, but mostly there to help you figure out what type of career path you want to take in the future, figure out what you like, figure out what you don't like. But a lot of them aren't going to be that way. So I think just stepping up and showing that initiative within, you know, the group that you're working with or within the other interns is going to make a huge difference. And that's what's really going to turn into those full-time hires after you graduate, which I think is usually a lot of times I know as an employer, that's my goal with internships, is to get people to come on with us full time afterwards. But even as a student, I remember thinking like, man, if I can lock this down after my summer internship, I'm going to be in a great place because I'm not going to be stressing about what I do next. Awesome. That's pretty much all I have.
That was excellent. So a couple takeaways I got from that, Amanda, is take initiative. Everything is transferable. That really hit home, and I hope it did for many students on the line as well. I'm going to turn it over to any students that have any questions of Amanda, Chelsea, or even myself, based on anything that we've shared thus far. Please feel free to take yourself off mute or put anything in the chat if you have a need to do so. Internships, its value, how to take initiative. How may certain things translate or be transferable? Questions, comments at all?
Can I say?
Oh, yeah, if someone can start us off, definitely do so.
Yeah, do you have any advices to international students like me to find an internship in a totally different country with like different mindset?
I can start with that. As an international student, if you're interested in maybe opportunities in different countries, there's a few things to think about. Number one, we have a resource known as Going Global. We love Going Global because it's more than just a job board. It also provides cultural information to understand how individuals, regardless of what country you're from, and or where you're looking to go, it can provide you with tactical and practical information around how to navigate that process. So Going Global provides internship job opportunity information for just about every country and every culture. So I think that that's a very important piece for people to remember. Also on Handshake, the screen that I shared before, and I'll go back because I remember now that individuals were not able to see my screen. I'm going to go back a few shots and show here on Handshake. When you click under jobs, that also provides you with the opportunity for internships as well. When you scroll down, this is just a screenshot of how it starts. There's also a button for CPT and OPT status. So regardless of what your international student status may be, if you click there, you know that you can at least find companies and employers that are international friendly, meaning they understand what different visa statuses may be and what some of the implications of students either interning and or being identified for full-time jobs, what the policy may be behind that. In addition to that, I would also encourage you to visit ISSS, International Student Scholars, I believe is services on our campus, to identify and confirm exactly what your visa status is and what the implications of that may mean to the type of work that you're able to do here in the US and beyond. So thank you for bringing that up. That's definitely important information. And I'm glad that someone mentioned to that part as well. I think someone else had a question. Would someone else, was that Hanlon who had his hand up?
Yes, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So it's more like somehow my personal situation, but I think it also applies to a lot of great undergrad students. So I'm a doctoral student, so I got a super long CV that has all my publications, my work experience, and I know some really good guy from undergrad programs that also have publications. So for us, if we are seeking an like a job in the industry, should we shrink it down to a resume, just one page, or should we keep it a super long one that try to impress people?
You know, that's a great question, Hanlon. And I would say your audience is everything. Know your audience. And I'm going to, in a minute, turn that part over to Amanda as well. My perspective is that CVs are highly research-based and academic. that are going to outline your research agenda, the courses that you've taught, maybe publications that you have completed as well. And depending on the industry that you may be shifting that to, that may or may not necessarily be their top value. Or you may want to find other ways to still speak about how you have taught coursework or engaged in a research project or your subject matter expertise that have led to publications, but it may not necessarily mean a 15 to 20 page CV. It may mean a 1 to 2 page resume. But I'm going to turn that answer over or that question over to Amanda. Maybe do you have any thoughts on that as well?
Yes, I definitely agree. I think your audience is everything. I think that it really depends on the type of role you're going to or going for as well. And I think the biggest thing that we should keep in mind is that CVs and resumes should be very relevant, right? They should be catered and you should have more than one, very honestly. So I would recommend having your full list of experiences in one that maybe you keep as like full CV is maybe how you title it or whatever it might be. And then you should have one that's probably a boiled down, more specific, really relatable one to the job that you're going to for. I think that's going to help you pick and personalize your resume to match that. I think that also one of the great things about the technical world that we live in these days is that you can still have all of your experiences and all of those kind of accolades or whatever it is on your LinkedIn as well. And that way, if they want to cross-reference it, employers are still able to see that if they want more and more background about it. And then once again, just because it's not on your resume doesn't mean that you can't speak to it in one of your interviews. So I would just say having multiple and customizing it to the specific job is going to be huge, and just do your research ahead of time. I'm definitely looking for pretty much clean cut 1-page resumes as an employer, but I also don't do a ton of hiring for people who are in the doctoral programs or different things like that. So I think it really just depends on your industry.
Great, thank you for that wonderful question, and Amanda for that answer. That's very helpful to know. Any other student questions?
I saw one in the chat. Let me pull it back up. But basically the question is about networking with people that they don't have warm introductions or intros with. I can definitely start with that one. I think that LinkedIn is a great tool for this specifically. And the kind of just echoing what I was just saying in my last answer is that a lot of your information is going to be on a LinkedIn. So I recommend, like, one thing that I really like when people are trying to do kind of cold connections with me on LinkedIn is showing that they did honestly, any form of research and why they would want to connect with me, I think is huge. So while I work for TTI, I've been with TTI since I graduated about 4 years ago. I still have that I was a YMCA camp counselor on my LinkedIn. I still have that I worked at a golf course in college. Things like that are on my LinkedIn. And I'll notice either in interviews or in cold networking situations, people will make that connection and say, hey, I also was a camp counselor. I loved working at, my camp. I would love to connect with you and see how that has translated to success at TTI or something like that. I think finding a way to make it a connection is going to be huge. Even if you think it might be a small connection, I would say go for it. And I think it's going to help you kind of get that door at least cracked, and you can start to pry it the rest of the way open. Also, another option is if you don't have a connection with that person and you don't necessarily have someone who can introduce you, I still think LinkedIn's a great tool. You can see maybe any alumni from Chapel Hill that are in your connections with them too, and see, hey, could you potentially reach out to that person and say, hey, I'm really interested in getting the opportunity to talk to this person. Don't know how well you know them, but I would love for you to kind of just introduce me, or even just, piggyback me into that conversation with them. I think is another great way to go about a cold introduction.
Great. Yeah. So what I hear is just, again, purpose and be intentional. If you don't know a person specifically, but there is a reason why you want to be connected, to be authentic in communicating that this is why you want to be in communication. You're attracted to their profile. They have some cool experiences, or they're affiliated with a company that you want to learn more about. So I think that that is a great approach. In fact, never connect with someone on LinkedIn without sending them just a few words of thank you for connecting, thank you in advance for connecting. You know, this is why I would like to be in connection, or I have some questions that I would like to ask. So I think that that is a perfect way for us to close since we are almost at time. I do want to mention that the recording for today will be on our YouTube channel by the end of this week. And so that would be good for you to go back and review or to share with others that were not able to make it today. We do value your feedback. And so if you have any perspective to give us or to ensure that we are on the right track with providing you with information that will support your internship search, that we would love to have that information from you. I'm also going to put that link in the chat. So if you don't mind taking just a few minutes after our time today to provide us with that feedback, we would greatly appreciate